What's up, amigos? It's the Prodigy Maker Minute with Chris Lewitt. As you may know, I'm the former #1 for Cornell University, pro circuit player, elite junior development coach, and author and educator, author of The Secrets of Spanish Tennis and the Tennis Technique Bible. Well, I get asked a lot because I have a strength and conditioning background. What is the best way to train for tennis? And more specifically, what is the most important area to train for tennis? So I just wanted to address that quickly. I think it's very important to have a general strength and conditioning program for all tennis athletes. That's a full body strength and conditioning program. And so a lot of kids don't even do that. So I think that's an essential. And if you talk to the leaders in the industry, people like Mark Kovacs, whom I respect a lot, they always talk about 2 to 3 days a week of good strength and conditioning to build a strong athletic base. And I completely agree with that. But sometimes I hear trainers, even high-level trainers, developing training plans for athletes and giving advice to parents. I listen to a lot of podcasts and things like that. And it's remarkable to me that nobody talks about the rotator cuff. I don't hear a focus on the rotator cuff. For me, that is the most important area for a tennis player to train. Because as you may know, if you don't have a strong, solid rotator cuff, there are 4 muscles. You have the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, the teres minor, and the subscapularis. There's 4 small muscles that help stabilize the shoulder joint. They help you do all the magical things you can do with your arms to swing the tennis racket. They control internal rotation, external rotation, and a host of other movements with your shoulder joint, your glenohumeral joint. So you got to know where those muscles are. They're underneath the deltoid. And you got to know how to strengthen them. There's a lot of band work, there's a lot of cable work you can do with very light weights to make those muscles strong and to create a solid, supportive structure around your glenohumeral joint to keep your shoulder healthy and strong. And I think that has to be a really important part of your gym work, of your strength and conditioning work. So I hear a lot of talk about, general training this, legs, arms, shoulders, things like that. But it's really the rotator cuff that you want to make strong, to make sure you have mobility in the shoulder joint too. And that way you can prevent the most catastrophic injury for a tennis player, which is the loss of shoulder mobility and perhaps a tear or some major injury to the shoulder. Because if you lose your shoulder, like I tell a lot of my students and parents, I say, your shoulder is your money maker. Your shoulder is solid gold. You have to have a solid gold shoulder. If you lose that, you cannot play tennis. And there are many coaches and former players who had shoulder problems, had shoulder surgery, problems with their rotator cuff, and they are not playing anymore, or they're playing at a very low level. They can't hit the ball very hard. They have to be very careful. So if you want a long-term career in tennis, as a coach too, also, of course, as a player, but I know many coaches who can't play anymore. I remember spending time I studied a lot with Jose Higueras, and he can hardly hit a ball. His shoulder is a mess. Things like that. Many former players cannot play. And so I just think if you want to spend your whole life in this game, and if you want to have a successful, fruitful career, you have to zone in and prioritize strengthening mobility work for your rotator cuff, subscapularis, supraspinatus, teres minor, and infraspinatus. Learn those muscles, learn where they are, learn how they support the shoulder joint, and train them, and teach your athletes to use them and train them in the gym. Because most kids go to the gym and they're lifting the biceps, they're lifting the chest, they're maybe doing some legs, and they're doing all the beach muscles, the front of the anterior abdomen, the abs, but it's the hidden muscles, the ones that are really important to the engine of a tennis player, just like the engine of a car. It's those little connectors and those important support structures that are the most critical to developing long-term success in tennis, staying healthy. It's like a car, you see the tennis athlete's a lot like a vehicle, a car. You have the shell, the sheet metal, and it may look bulky and strong, But what really matters is, how is the engine built? How are the cables in there? How are all of the injectors and the pieces that make up the important infrastructure of the car? You know, the suspension, all those connector bits. They have to be solid and strong and secure. And so I think it's the same for a tennis player. And in this case, I can only pick one. You prioritize the rotator cuff. Obviously, the lower back's very important. The legs, the muscles around the knee joint are very important. There are the wrist, there's been a lot of wrist injuries. The hips, another very important area, to have strong, mobile hips. But if I had to choose just one, I would say, come on, guys, it's rotator cuff. And why is it not talked about specifically the way I'm doing? I see even some of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the world, and they're talking about all these things you should be doing for training, but they neglect to mention the rotator cuff. So, guys, if you like this Prodigy Maker Minute, please consider watching my big show, the Prodigy Maker Show. It's going to be coming out soon. I've been traveling. Sorry I haven't got the show out. And I'll see you guys on the next program.